This is the entire story of One Piece in 15 minutes. 900 years ago, there existed an entity vaguely known as the Great Kingdom. And as the name implies, that kingdom was pretty damn great. They were the undisputed power in the world and are speculated to have been the original owners of 3 ancient weapons capable of unparalleled destruction. We don't know if this kingdom was benevolent, we don't know if they were tyrannical. All we know is that they weren't particularly liked by anyone who was not them. Somewhere between 8 to 900 years ago, 20 smaller kingdoms came together to form the ancient political equivalent of a Megazord by constructing an alliance strong enough to declare war on the Great Kingdom. And the alliance was ultimately successful. They not only defeated the Great Kingdom, but erased all traces of them from history. And as a result, this period would become known as the Void Century. However, there was one tiny sliver of information unaccounted for, being the existence of a man named Joy Boy. He was a very mysterious figure who played an integral role in hiding indestructible cubes known as poneglyphs throughout the world. And written on them is the true history of the Void Century. Joy Boy hid these stones well, perhaps too well, or exactly as well as intended. Either way, it would take over 7 centuries for these secrets to be discovered by the most infamous pirate to have ever lived, Goldie Roger. Roger was something of a completionist, and after discovering that these funky stones existed, he embarked on a mission to 100% the secrets of this planet. Through a mixture of intelligence, brute force, and blatant luck, Roger and his crew successfully managed to discover all 30 history cubes, but along the way, something unexpected happened. Also, it's very red in here now, but this video is sponsored by One Punch Man the Strongest, a turn-based mobile RPG adapted from the One Punch Man anime, created by the legendary One and Yusuke Murata. As a huge fan of the series, I love that this game lets you relive the anime, taking you on a journey through all of Saitama's iconic and thoroughly punched opponents, such as when Saitama KO'd the Giant Man. Collect over 60 unique characters from the series, including both heroes and villains that you can combinify to form the very strongest and wackiest teams, with each character able to be upgraded using gear and items. Plus, they're all voiced by the original Japanese cast. You can train Saitama every day with his signature push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and running, plus you'll be ready to use his one punch to defeat any opponent. However, it can only be utilized once per battle. Saitama will also be around to help you gather materials whilst you immerse yourself and relive all of the glorious punch fighting. One Punch Man the Strongest is now available on iOS and Android, and you can click my link in the description or scan the QR code to fight alongside Saitama today. And don't forget to use my code to support the channel. As the game has over 1 million pre-registrations, all new players will receive a free 10 pull, alt-hand avatar, and appearance frame. Log in consecutively during the first week to get over 40 additional draws, the A-class hero Iaron, and a character of your choice. That makes it at least 50 plus draws during your first week of gameplay. So go do that thing, but for now, it's back to you. Me. But along the way, something unexpected happened, because every now and then they would encounter a very unusual red poneglyph. These are known as the road poneglyphs, and after finding 4 of them, the Roger pirates came to the realization that these stones put together contain the location of a hidden island. Roger was now salivating with curiosity, if that's a thing you can do, and he set sail immediately for his final destination. And what Roger saw there is the crowning mystery of this series. At this moment, everything made sense. Roger understood perfectly what needed to be done, but also that he had arrived far too early to do it. Roger named this island Laugh Tale because it made him laugh, and we don't know why yet. Roger also happened to be afflicted with an incurable disease and knew that he would not live to see through the mission laid out on Laugh Tale. So he disbanded the Roger Pirates and would go on to turn himself over to the Navy. Which sounds a little bit depressing, doesn't it? Like Roger had lost the will to live, but it was completely the opposite. All of this was part of a master plan. After discovering Laugh Tale, Roger became known throughout the world as the first and currently only pirate king. And the world government naturally decided to make an example of such a high-profile celebrity criminal. Roger's public execution was packed tighter than a 17th century nun's undergarments, and those who could not attend were anxiously awaiting the news. The whole world was glued to this spectacle, and here, with his final words, Roger would change history forever.
My treasure, if you want it, it's yours, but you'll have to search the whole world. I left it in that place.
After which point, Roger was executed, but his mission was complete. His last words sparked the golden age of piracy. People from all over the planet set out to sea in hopes of finding Roger's treasure, now dubbed the One Piece, and set their sights on becoming the next pirate king. However, there was a deeper intent behind Roger's words, because scattered across the globe were a series of individuals who in 2 decades' time would come together to complete both the will of Roger and the will of Joy Boy, one of which just so happens to be our main character. Many years after Roger's demise, one of his apprentices named Shanks had formed his own pirate crew, and they were using the tiny town of Fuchsia Village as a base of operations. Here, Shanks met a very loud, proud, and hungry lad named Monkey D. Luffy. Hungry being the most important descriptor in this case, because one day Luffy became ever so famished, and he casually consumed a devil fruit that Shanks had been holding on to. Devil fruits are said to be the most foul-tasting things in all of the existence, but Luffy, for whatever reason, didn't seem particularly bothered by it. However, what's more notable is that consuming these fruits results in the user being granted a specific power. In Luffy's case, this turned his body into rubber and allowed him to do all sorts of fun, stretchy stuff. However, these fruits can have just about any effect, allowing people to conjure substances, become animals, or even become elements. I mean, there's even one fruit that allows you to turn your junk into a musical instrument and play it. The possibilities are limitless. However, and this is a big however, this does come with a curse, as those who have consumed devil fruits become completely prone when submerged in a certain amount of water, which, is very dangerous when your whole world is based on the concept of piracy, with lots of boats and sailing across the vast stretches of liquid. But even before fruit-based shenaniganry, Luffy was inspired by Shanks to become a pirate. Luffy even begged Shanks pretty much every hour of every day to let him join the Red Hair Pirates. And even though Shanks said, "Nah, little boy," he did recognize something in Luffy, a quality that Roger possessed, and a hope for the next generation. Which is a bit awkward because that hope was about to be snuffed out. Luffy's loud and now rather stretchy mouth got him into a spot of trouble with the bandit who was about to kill him and Big Giant Sea King who was about to kill both of them. But at the last second, Shanks stepped in and saved Luffy. However, he lost his left arm in the process. Shanks would go on to refer to this as an investment in the future, whereas the Sea King would go on to refer to it as a disappointing appetizer. But a distraught Luffy, realizing that he was not ready to set out to sea, claimed that he would become a pirate one day. And not only that, but a pirate that would surpass even Shanks. And whether Luffy actually knew this title existed or not is debatable, but he then claimed that he would become the Pirate King. After which point Shanks gave Luffy his straw hat for safekeeping, and made him promise to return it when he became a great pirate. From there we skip about 10 years to a point where Luffy has become a lot bigger, a lot stronger, but not much smarter. He sets out to sea on his quest, gathering a crew of like-minded young people, and this group becomes the Straw Hat Pirates, each of whom possess their own unique dreams. Like Zoro, who wants to become the world's greatest swordsman, Nami, who wants to be the first person to chart the entire planet, and Usopp, who simply wants to be not consistently soiling himself at the first sign of danger. And in order to achieve all of their dreams, they need to set sail into a very special part of the world known as the Grand Line. The One Piece planet is a complex beast divided into 7 seas via one large continent thing that circumnavigates the globe, and a thin stretch of water that does the same, but on the inverse axis. So we began Luffy's journey here in East Blue. However, the bulk of the series takes place all the way over here in the Grand Line. The Grand Line is referred to as the Pirate's Graveyard because of its brutal and unpredictable weather conditions. For example, most pirates fail to do something as simple as even enter the Grand Line because they just sink immediately. But with a naturally gifted navigator like our Nami here, it's doable. Although then the concern becomes dealing with all of the insanely powerful pirates and marines that inhabit this sea. Also, by this time, the world has radically changed. The 20 kingdoms who overthrew the Great Kingdom eventually formed an organization known as the World Government, and those directly descended from the ancient royalty are referred to as the World Nobles, obscenely wealthy and evidently inbred individuals who actively believe that they are gods. And they may as well be. They're completely above the law and can commit whatever atrocities they desire with a big thumbs up from the authorities. This includes, but is not limited to, murder, slavery, genocide, which is like super murder, and worst of all, assorted crimes against fashion, because what the crap is this? But as powerful as they are, the world government does need some assistance in maintaining order. And counterintuitively enough, they get that assistance from pirates. The world government heavily relies on a program known as the 7 Warlords of the Sea, whereby they essentially bribe powerful pirates to work for them in exchange for ignoring their various criminal activities, which includes, but is not limited to, murder, slavery, genocide, and somehow letting them get away with naming themselves after animals. Because I find it very hard to believe that your parents just popped out of spawn and decided, yeah, you know what, we'll name him Crocodile. That's a normal name. And the warlords are a major element of conflict in One Piece. In fact, to date, most of the series has been dedicated to dealing with them. Some have been beaten directly by Luffy, whilst others have become allies of Luffy, including Jinbei, our sashimi-based warlord, who went on to become an official member of the Straw Hat Pirates. However, not all pirates are willing to just bend over and take the throbbing stick of justice. And the reason why the world government needs pirates to maintain order is because of the existence existence of the 4 emperors. Over the course of the series, the makeup of this group has changed, but they represent the 4 most powerful and influential pirates in the world at any given point. And they sort of balance each other out in a sort of stalemate type situation. Because if one emperor dedicates forces and resources to attacking another, then that leaves them both vulnerable to the other 2. And as a result, they can get away with all sorts of crimes, which includes, but is not limited to, murder, slavery, genocide, and in one particular case, cannibalism. That's not all though, because lurking somewhere in the shadows is an organization who are rather discontent with the way the world's currently being run. They are the Revolutionary Army, and their mission is to overthrow the world government and implement some sort of vaguely defined betterer society. Also, their leader is Luffy's father, Monkey D. Dragon. So our Straw Hat Pirates are really up against it here. They are the very definition of underdog. Despite that, they work hard, they play hard, and recruit a few more members, including a reindeer doctor, an archaeologist/assassin, a speedo-wearing cyborg, and an undead skeleton with a very firmly rooted afro. You know, your standard pirate archetypes. And together, our crew actually managed to hit the halfway point of the Grand Line, a location called the Sabadi Archipelago. And here we discovered that Luffy is one of the 9 rookie pirate captains of this generation who have managed to reach this milestone. And here we meet a lot of names and faces. For the purposes of this video, it's not important to remember them all, so I'm not going to say them. But these figures would go on to become known as the Worst Generation, and they are simultaneously Luffy's greatest allies and greatest rivals. Also, you may or may not have figured this out by now, but they're also the individuals who Roger's words were intended for, a group destined to rise up and reshape the world. Destined meaning not now and much more later, because right now they are well and truly out of their league. After Luffy punched a world noble in the collective of skin and fat that passes for a face, a Marine Admiral was sent to Sabadi to enact justice. And it was here that we learned how pitifully unprepared the Worst Generation were for the true challenges of the world. The Straw Hat Pirates as a crew were completely defeated and scattered across the planet thanks to the powers of a man with bouncy bear paws. But from here, we follow Luffy alone. Shortly after waking up on an island full of women, Luffy discovers that his brother Portgasty Ace was captured and is going to be publicly executed, much like Roger was. Oh yeah, Luffy had a brother, by the way. That's probably important. 2 brothers, in fact, but they haven't been particularly important until now, and they're not blood related. But all of this is part of a plot masterminded by the ultimate antagonist of One Piece, who has the most stereotypical pirate name imaginable, being Blackbeard. Now, let's make some connections. Blackbeard's goal was to defeat and hand over Ace in order to instigate a war between Whitebeard, an Emperor of the Sea, and the world government. And this worked, because Ace was a member of Whitebeard's crew, and the world government saw this as an opportunity to lure Whitebeard into battle on their terms and rid the world of a fearsome emperor. And what happened next is the greatest large-scale conflict ever put to page in manga. This event was dubbed the Paramount War, and it featured almost every major world figure we'd met up until this point. Every marine, every warlord, and a metric ass ton of pirates fighting on the side of Whitebeard. And even Luffy participated. His whole mission was to save Ace, but Luffy was far out of his depth here. Luffy was like an ant throwing a tantrum whilst trying not to be crushed by battles between giants. And in quite possibly the most shocking moment of the series, Luffy was ultimately unsuccessful. His brother Ace was executed, and even Whitebeard was killed. Killed by Blackbeard, to be precise, because that is what this whole endeavor was designed to achieve. Blackbeard, in a process that I'm going to describe as somehow, managed to extract Whitebeard's Devil Fruit ability and became the first known human to possess 2 Devil Fruit powers simultaneously. 2 of the strongest, most world-ending powers, mind you. And Luffy himself would have lost his life if not for the last-second interference of his idol Shanks, who arrived to bring this war to a grinding halt. Now an Emperor of the Sea himself, Shanks threatened to use the full force of the Red Hair Pirates against whoever wished to continue fighting, to which everyone said a resounding, "Yeah, nah," and promptly scuttled home. After a series of consecutive losses, Luffy grew frustrated with just how weak he was. He simply would not be able to become the Pirate King under these conditions. But on the advice of Silver's Rayleigh, who was Roger's second in command, Luffy sent a very clever message to his crew around the world, stating that they will reunite on Sabadi in 2 years. This time would be used by each of the Straw Hats to get stronger, smarter, and more skilled to make their dreams come true. Luffy in particular spent his time being trained directly by Rayleigh, who taught him about a hidden power system known as HAKI. HAKI comes in 3 types: observation, armament, and conquerors. Observation allows the user to have a sixth sense, in terms of being able to sense presences, emotions, and in some extreme cases, even look briefly into the future. Armament HAKI is the skill of being able to manifest one's will to coat parts of their bodies in a sort of armor, allowing drastically increased offensive and defensive abilities. And finally, Conqueror's HAKI is the projection of sheer willpower and dominance over others. It's an ability that one must be born with. And Luffy, Luffy, through protagonistic fates, happens to be one of those people. 2 years later, the crew reunited Sabari, significantly stronger, and set sail once more to make their dreams come true. And in this effort, they enter the second half of the Grand Line, known as the New World. This is by far the most dangerous stretch of water in the world, subject to apocalyptic weather conditions where the only law is survival of the fittest. I mean, there is a second, and his name is Trafalgar Law, a member of the Worst Generation, and from here on out, he becomes disgustingly important. Law invites Luffy to form a pirate alliance, because the Worst Generation have their sights set mostly on toppling the Emperors of the Sea, and Law singles out the Emperor Kaido, to which Luffy gleefully agrees, and in their pursuit of the Emperor, they manage to defeat a gas clown, a flamingo warlord, and stumble upon a series of time-traveling samurai. Conveniently, these samurai are from a country called Wano, which just so happens to be Kaido's stronghold. And since that is where they need to go anyway, Luffy agrees and their alliance becomes much more bigger. Now featuring samurai, ninja, minks, and of course pirates. But whilst adventuring on a 1,000-year-old elephant, the Straw Hats discover a red cube, one of the 4 road poneglyphs that will give them the location of Laugh Tale. And the good news is, we know where at least 2 of those other poneglyphs are. The bad news is that they are owned by 2 separate Emperors of the Sea, being Big Mom and Kaido, so they're not exactly easy to take. Unlike Straw Hat crew member Sanji, who was blackmailed by a gangster and a lion and taken to Whole Cake Island, the stronghold of Big Mom. The Straw Hats then send a small subtle retrieval team to take Sanji back, which results in crashing a wedding, crashing a building, and the mochi-laden fists of Charlotte Katakuri repeatedly crashing into the face of Luffy for about 12 hours straight. Whole Cake Island wasn't the greatest moment for the Straw Hats. When confronted with the power of an emperor, the Straw Hats had no option but to retreat, and the only victory to be had here was survival. Well, survival and managing to steal a copy of Big Mom's Road Poneglyph. So that's 2 down, and just like that, we are 50% on the way to glory. The retrieval team then set sail to Wano to meet up with the rest of the alliance and make good on their mission to beat Kaido. Now, Wano is, by far, the largest arc in One Piece to date with a truly colossal cast, and it took just over 4 years of publishing to complete. The general idea is gathering, building, and implementing a raid to defeat Kaido, which does ultimately succeed thanks to an unparalleled degree of teamwork, luck, and Luffy awakening his Devil Fruit's true form, a mythical sun god whose power is limited only by imagination. And not only is Kaido beaten, but Big Mom also gets taken out in this conflict, simultaneously dispatching 2 of the 4 emperors and creating this unparalleled power vacuum that threatens to plunge the world into untold chaos. But our alliance did succeed, and the crew found the 3rd road poneglyph, with just 1 more to go before we head to Laugh Tale and discover the One Piece. So from here, our crew set sail from Wano and into their final unknown adventure. And that is the entire story of One Piece so far in 15 minutes.